Okay, class, hopefully you're still with me, still plugging along. This is our last lesson in chapter 11, and we're only going to look at one type of application question. Some of these are straight out of the book as far as the book examples go, so if you want a reinforcement on the exact same examples, you could look there. The book actually has there's a lot of application out there for parabolas and quadratic equations, and a lot of ways that this type of mathematical function is used in other areas of life, but we only have time for one type. So these are going to be the max-min problems. And so the only thing we're going to be given is we're going to be given our equation. We don't have to graph it, I'm just giving you a visual. So if our equation starts off with a negative, you know it opens down. So we're going to be looking for that vertex, which would be a max value. If our equation starts off with a positive number, we know that when I graph it, it opens up. So my vertex is going to be right there. And in this case, we're looking for a minimum value. All we're going to do is find the vertex. We're going to utilize that shortcut. X equals negative b over 2a. And to find the y, we plug in whatever x value we got when we did the shortcut. So here's our first example. Has to do with recycling. Let's hope I don't need a calculator because this first one has a decimal. So we have r of t. Some of our variables are going to change because we're trying to make them applicable to our situation. So 0.2 t squared minus 3.6 t plus 38. All right, and in this equation, I think this is one of the book ones, it says that t is time. So it's the number of years since 1995. So this will play an important role when we get to the end. And then R of t stands for our recycling rate. So what percentage of the population is recycling? And this is a positive number, so we're looking for a minimum value. So at some point it hit a minimum and then it started to go up from there. And what was that minimum value? All right, so here's our shortcut. The time is going to be equal, because time is our independent variable here, not x. It's going to be equal to negative b over 2a. So in this case, this is a negative, so when we do the opposite, it's going to be positive 3.6 over 2 times a is 0.2. So 3.6 divided by 0.4 is going to be 9. So this stands for 9 years. And so when I plug 9 in for r of t, 0.2 times 9 squared minus 3.6 times 9 plus 38. 9 times 9 is 81, so this is 16.2 minus, let's see, 30, 27, and 54, 32.4 plus 38, so this is negative 16.2, and 38 is going to be 20, bear with me here, my calculator's in the other room, and so I'm going to borrow here, so that's going to be an 8, so 1, so 21.8, so that's my percent. So what this problem tells me is 9 years after 1995. So what year would that make it? 9 years after 1995 would be 2004. So in 2004, the recycling rate was 21.8%. And that would be the coordinate of that vertex right there. It actually would be 9 if I graphed it, but in reality, the year would be 2004. Let's go through it again. We're just using the shortcut. So our next example has to do with profits, and our leading coefficient, that A value is negative, so the company had a max year or a max month with a particular profit. So where was that max? So the profit is equal to -8 x squared plus 32x plus 42. And it says X stands for, oh, it's not a time. X stands for number of items produced in the thousands. And P of X is the profits. And it also says in thousands. So just a shorter way to write that. Okay, so my X value, use the shortcut, -b over 2a. So make this opposite, -32 over 2 times a is -8. So two negatives are going to cancel. So -32 over -16 is a +2. Let's plug 2 into my equation to figure out the actual profit. So the profit at 2, -8 times 2 squared plus 32 times 2 plus 42. Square before you multiply by -8. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times -8 is -32. Plus 32 times 2 is 64. Plus 42. So 32 plus 42 is 74. Keep in mind, both of these were in thousands. So when we got X equals 2, and it talks about number of items, the total number of items made is 2,000 items. Maximizes our profit. How much profit do we make? That number right there in thousands. So $74,000. All that we're really doing is that shortcut piece, and then we just have to look back and really look at what our variables are representing to figure out the final answer. Let's do one more. Think of it as your try, if you'd like. Two of these are straight out of the examples of the book, and one of them is out of the problems, and I just chose an even question. Oh, I have a note to myself. This must be in the homework. This is number 8, I believe, in the homework section. And so it says that we're doing v of x equals x squared minus 6x plus 13. And X stands for months. Since January. And I apologize, I don't have the book right in front of me. I don't remember what, I'm imagining the V is the volume. You can go back and look that up. I'm sorry I didn't write that piece down for some reason. All right, so we're going to do the X, and I'll show you what V is, but I'm not quite sure if it's hundreds, thousands, feet, inches, what have you. All right, so when we do our shortcut, X equals -b over 2a. since this is negative and that's negative, then our first numerator value is a positive 6 over 2. A is 1. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my first answer is going to be 3, so now I'm going to plug that in. So B of 3, it's bugging me that I didn't write down what that was. So 3 times 3 is 9, minus 18 plus 13 is negative 9 plus 13, which is 4. And so whatever that happens to stand for, but this one we know because I wrote it down, says the number of months since January. So if I have 3 additional months than January, so I have February, and then I have March, and then my next month is April. And so my answer is April, or month number 4, since January is month number 1. So April, and whatever the V stands for would be 4 units, 4 pieces, 4 whatever. All right, that's all of 11.8, just this one skill, finding that shortcut, the vertex, and then we only have one little piece of chapter 12 that I will do for you in just a second. Take care.